Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another podcast episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are going to discuss how to ask better questions to become a better dancer. Now, there is a couple things that we're just going to review, things that you probably already know. One of those things is the idea of the phrase, "I'm confused." And we actually don't allow this phrase at the studio because there's such a better way to articulate that you are confused without saying confused, and that's by asking a really good question. Now, I am of the belief that there are better structured questions than other questions. So that whole phrase of there's no such thing as a dumb question, kinda there is. And what that means is we can be better at dance just like we can be better at asking questions. So to really understand why you're confused, and this again is something that new students get to learn. They get to understand that, oh, I get to ask questions and understand this movement and what I'm actually stuck on better. At least at my studio, that's how I run things because again, we're a boutique studio, so there's a certain number of people in each class, so I get to almost give my students a one-on-one experience within a group setting. So naturally, when we're in a classroom, there's a bunch of different levels, there's a bunch of different skills around the room. And there's definitely going to be a moment when someone is going to have the same question as someone else in the room and when someone is going to have a different question in the room. So this next part is going to be for my real beginner dancers. And then I'm going to flip to my more experienced dancers in a second. So for my brand new dancers, without knowing the subject matter that you can ask questions on, it might be tricky to think about which questions are possible. So that's why when you're a beginner dancer, once you learn the main subjects to ask questions on, it's going to allow you to ask really good questions and even better, get a really clear answer, which will in turn help you as a dancer. So once you understand these categories, you can make better questions. So this is going to all come full circle at the end. But the first thing I want to talk to you about is if you've listened to me before, you know that we talk about the get the fuck there moment. Now, the get the fuck there moment is important. There's a whole podcast episode on that, so make sure you listen to that. And the get the fuck there moment really means that you understand a moment in the song within the musicality that you can get the fuck there. And you know the movement that happens on that cue. That's step one, understanding your get the fuck there moments. You could be a beginner dancer entirely and know 7 of the get the fuck there moments and really do a great job executing a dance that could be outside of your current skill level and in a more advanced way that you ever thought possible. Let's say for the sake of this that there's 4 get the fuck there moments in the routine. Let's say that you know enough, like you have some things that you're like, okay, I want to improve on that a little bit, but I really do get it. Like I understand, like I'm going to put my arm up and my right leg goes out to the side. Okay, understood. Let's say that as much as you understand what the get the fuck there moment is, you still aren't getting there. And my question as a teacher is always like, why? Like, why aren't you getting that? And a lot of what I do is I ask what I think you're going to ask in my head, and I answer it before you even need to ask it. And I realize while this is a beautiful skill of mine as a teacher, it also doesn't challenge my students to ask questions when appropriate. And the funny thing about questions is sometimes like your question is going to get answered. And I think that's a thing that you start to just feel out as a dancer. Like definitely don't spend time asking that question. Like here's an example of what I would call a silly question. And I'm substituting the word silly because you know which word I really want to say. Can you do that again after I've just taught it only one time? You can save yourself the energy of asking that question because if someone has just shown the movement once, they most definitely are going to show that movement again. So find your patience and definitely wait to ask that question. If it's maybe after like the 5th time and you feel like you need it one more time, let it drill a couple times and then wait. There's a lot of stress that comes in sometimes when we put this expectation on ourselves to do a really good job right away. And I think that's the beauty of learning is it takes a while to learn. So there's the moment of when the stuff is thrown at you and you've got to just be like, wow, a lot of stuff I don't know. And then know and trust that one, your teacher is going to get you there. And two, you as a student, you're going to get yourself there. And being so uncomfortable in that moment where you're like, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to go up and 5, 6, 7, 8, then we're going to go down and then we're going to go around here. And then you turn over here and then you face this way. Like, yeah, hearing that on the first time is overwhelming. And on the 5th time, it's probably like, okay. Now, if you can approach your class with 5th time energy, you're going to be like so much more relaxed. You're going to just know that, okay, my teacher's going to repeat that for me. And if she doesn't, I'm going to have just such a well-structured question to ask her that it's going to be so simple and I'm going to be able to just figure it out. And her answer is going to be so clear that I'm going to be able to figure it out. So as I'm teaching my students, I'm looking around and I'm always wondering, what do they need? How can I be a better teacher? How can this information be delivered better, more smoothly? And it's funny because I had this crazy moment in my class on Friday where I was looking around and I was like, something's going on. Like, what's happening here? Just the power of reflection, right? Like in that moment, I was like, they're not getting something. And that's on me as their teacher to be like, okay, what am I not articulating clearly? And at that moment, it wasn't the movement. It wasn't the memory. It wasn't any of that. It was something else. And it was that they needed the skill of asking a question. They needed to know exactly how to ask the question so that they could do the movement in the way that the choreography was presenting. So there's 5 categories that I want you to be thinking about when you're asking your questions. 1 is musicality. 2 is the transition. 3 is the dynamic in which you're hitting the movement. 4 is your intention. What's the vibe? What are we portraying? And 5 is your performance quality. And I guess embedded in all 5 of these categories is the get the fuck there moment. So keep that in the back of your head. You can also keep choreography there, like a certain 8 count or a certain phrase. So for a movement, we are going to use a clap as an example because I feel that you can do that while you're listening and you can also do it while you're watching. So there's different ways that we can clap, right? We all know that. So this is going to be, even though it's a clap and we all know how to clap, I want you to think of this clap as the equivalent of a dance move in a routine. So in our first category, musicality, we're going to be hitting our hands together in a clap on a certain beat. So the first thing that you can figure out is, are you questioning musicality? Do you want to understand the music better so that you can hit your clap on a specific part? So if I'm looking around and I'm watching my students and their timing is off, I might inherently know, like, okay, I need to go over timing with them. Let's say that move is sandwiched in within a bunch of other these categories. That might get confusing, as we were saying earlier. So the first thing I'm going to invite my students to do is be a detective. It means you're learning by looking, you're learning by seeing, you're learning by hearing. And if you're a really great detective, you're going to understand where you are making your error and where you are making your mistake. So another great part of this is following frustration, and we'll talk about this at a different time. But if you can follow your frustration, then you're going to be able to understand where your questions can be built from. So if you're saying to yourself, oh, I'm never there at that part, that's a frustration. Ask a question on it. Or why do I keep putting this right arm up? That's frustration. You should ask that question. So with musicality, as we're talking about our first category here, when we're understanding, I'm not getting that move on the beat it needs to get on, that's going to be a musicality question. So that's where you would go into our discussion on music. Are you hearing the beats? Are you hearing the lyrics? Are you understanding the counts? And you would frame your question, oh, Chrissy, what count is that on, that clap? Or, oh, hey, Chrissy, I'm trying to figure out, is that clap on the word where or every in the word everywhere? And then I could say, oh, you know what? When you're listening to that for the lyrics, it'd be on the wah of everywhere. Sometimes the choreography isn't exactly to the lyric, and that's why we need to rely on beats, and that's why we need to rely on counts. So that's why also I love when my students love the idea of being versatile in learning all those, because I can be like, if you're a lyric person, it's this. If you're a count person, it's this. If you're a beat person, it's this. And then we can understand the music. We almost dissect the music. And because we do that, we know the music better, which means we connect to the music better. And when you're connecting to the music better, you're dancing better, you're portraying the story better, and your audience is having a better experience. So if you're asking a question and you're having trouble with music, then think about your beats, your lyrics, your counts, and ask your question on that. The next category is transitions. So we had this moment in the dance where our legs were kind of like spread apart and we bring them together and we're on our knees. And it dawns on me, does the right knee go to the left knee, or does the left knee go to the right knee, or do they both meet in the middle? And I'm like, wow, like someone could really be like deciphering this while they're doing this move. And maybe they need to know the right answer, because that's what's preventing them from getting the fuck there. So in this idea of the clap, if you're watching, watch, I can clap like this. That was me moving my left hand over to my right hand. Or I can clap like this. That was me moving my right hand to my left hand. Or I can clap like this, and I met both hands in the middle. So something like that, like how am I transitioning? So if that's what's tripping up my student, their question would sound like this. Hey, Chrissy, when we're putting our hands together like that, do I meet in the middle, or do I bring one over to the other side? And think about how clear that is. I mean, versus this, I'm confused, or even I'm confused about the clap. Well, what are you confused at? I'm acting like I'm frustrated, but that's just the Italian me. I'm not really that frustrated. I think it's kind of cute. But when you're thinking about how can I ask a better question, well, what is it that's happening there? Like what's going through your head? And be vulnerable enough to explain it. I keep thinking that my left goes to my right and I'm having trouble. And then I might be able to offer you a trick, something that is like mind-blowingly easy, because my students do this all the time. They make things harder than they are sometimes. So like that idea of like, okay, well, if you think of it this way, we're going to go to our left side next, then you're going to remember that you meet in the middle, plop to your left. And that might be so funny hearing right now and watching, because I'm not doing the actual movement that I was thinking about this with. So we're just going to leave that there and move to the next category. So the next category is dynamic. So you got your get the fuck there moment. You know that you got to hit something and you are hitting it. Let's say you're going in. I'm going to use my clap again for my move. So your hands are meeting together and you're clapping. Great. You did it. And now we get to wonder, okay, what's going on there? Like, it doesn't look like I want it to. So that's me watching as the teacher. And that's also you watching yourself and maybe doing a little bit of a little peek to your left, a little peek to your right, to look at the other people in the classroom and seeing like, ooh, am I getting that? Is that the move that I'm doing? Again, being a detective, trying to figure out what is this move and how can I ask the question? So, hey, Chrissy, I noticed that when you put your hands together like that, you're really like clapping it really hard. And I want to be able to understand what that is. So that would bring me to help you understand the 4 dance dynamics: fast and soft, fast and hard, slow and soft, slow and hard. So if we are clapping like this, if you're listening, I'd put my hands together at a very slow and soft manner. That's the dance dynamic of slow and soft. If I put my hands together like we normally do when we're at a show and we're clapping, that's hard and fast. That dance dynamic is seen a lot. That's like a hit, or if you're hitting something really hard. So let's say that is our dynamic. Your question could be, hey, Chrissy, what is the dance dynamic that I'm hitting this get the fuck there moment on? Is it hard and fast? And then I could be like, actually, it might look like it's hard and fast, but really it's hard and slow, because I want you to be going to the movement and suspending your movement when you're in the clap. And then you'd be like, oh, boom, clarity. clarity for me. And now you get to do that move better. Even if it's just that move, it's still improvement. Our next category is intention. So with this, it's kind of similar in a way to the performance, but slightly different. So the intention is, what's the meaning behind the movement? And let's just say that the song is a very like hip hop, like hard and fast, like very beaty, bassy. Your intention to the movement is going to be a little bit different than if it was a lyrical song. We just know that. And then there's songs that are kind of like in the middle, and it might not be that obvious or that clear. And it might be that you think it's something, and also your teacher, your choreographer, is suggesting to do something contrasting to that. So that's why it might be a good idea to, in the case of this clap, to honor the intention behind it. Because I can do again, this is going to be a visual thing. If I'm thinking about this meaning behind my clap, there's meaning behind it. I'm now a little bit more present with my movement. My eyes shifted. Again, if you're listening, I just like looked at my clap versus looking straight at the camera. Now, if I'm performing this, and now let's dip into the other category quickly, because I think these do go hand in hand. So this is your performance quality. So if I'm performing this and I want to have that intention and I want to perform it, I would then go like this. And for those of you listening, I just like looked at it longer. I had maybe like a different facial on, and I kind of went like lyrical mode a little bit, if you can like verbally see that. And the reason why it's important to ask questions on this is because you want to know, like, one, does this have meaning that I, as a dancer, can represent? Again, if you're a beginner dancer, you're probably not thinking this right away. These would be more advanced questions to ask. Maybe not so about the performance, because when you talk about performance, you talk about your face, and we always talk about face when we're talking about dance at the studio. So for my more advanced dancers, you might be really trying to storytell and portray the vibe of the routine, yes, the song, yes, and also the choreography that will tie it all together. And when you're able to ask the question like, oh, like, what's my feeling here? What's my mode? What's my vibe? How should I be? That's really going to play into a better performance coming from you, because one, it's going to match up with the intention of the choreographer, and two, it's going to match up then again with that song. So these are really fun ways to ask questions, and they get deeper. So those are kind of like starting blocks for my beginners. Then for my more advanced dancers, I said I was going to circle back to you. This is also something for my beginner dancers to pay attention to, because you all have a there to get to, and being able to advance your questions, that's going to be just as important as in advancing your dancing. I'm rhyming today. So to advance the music questions, we might ask about this pause in the music. And maybe you're noticing that the choreography kind of skips over the pause, and you're like, hey, what about this pause? Like, where should I be on that? Maybe you're delving into a combination of a music question and a performance question. So things are getting more advanced in that way. Maybe the dynamic shift is shifting. So we talk about dynamics as what they are in one move, but what about from one move to the next move? That would be advancing that question. So, hey, Chrissy, I noticed that this move is hard and fast, and this move is hard and slow. What's the best technique for me to do that and execute that? That would be making that question a little bit deeper. Or here's a really great advanced question. I noticed the transition that goes from the top to the bottom. My knee hurts today. What's another option for me to get to the floor? That would be more advanced, and I would hope that my beginner babies would start to learn to ask that question as soon as possible, because learning to ask for modifications is one of the best things that you can do as a dancer. What about this question? This would be advancing the performance category. Oh, I noticed that once I go into my improv, my face kind of loses its connection. So how do I maintain what I'm giving in my performance during the choreography in my improv? Or what is a simple face that I could do when I'm thinking instead of this face? If you're watching, I just like made this like kind of thinky face. So when you think about these categories, we think about the simplistic questions that can get very clear answers. And we think about how to advance those questions to still get clear answers, but to go deeper into the movement, deeper into the choreography, and to ultimately make us a better dancer. So the next time that you are feeling confused, I hope that you're able to articulate a beautiful question using these 5 categories and to understand your get the fuck there moments. And again, I want to stress this even more. If you come to a class and you're doing a get the fuck there moment, and let's say you do 3 of them, like you still are doing the dance. Even if it's gisty, even if the transitions are kind of missing, you're still doing it. And that's why it's so important as a dancer to come in with a very clear intention of your class that you're about to take. Because if you come in expecting and wanting your goal to be getting everything, and you stepped into a more advanced class than you thought you were going to be in, now you just set yourself up for failure versus going into a classroom understanding, okay, bare minimum, I'm going to get my get the fuck there moments. Step above that, I'm going to get the fuck there moments with the dynamic that she selected, or with the musicality that we talked about, or with the performance quality that I know I can do. So you kind of just like pick and choose. I think I would just want you to picture like a convenience store, and like you're in the candy aisle, like you're about to check out and you're just seeing all these things and you're like, oh, gum, sure. Mints, yes. Like Snicker, okay. And you're just getting to choose like, oh, what do I want today? And for some, that's overwhelming because there's so many options. And if you just hone in and you tunnel vision yourself and understand like, no, I came in for gas, but I did run out of gum. So I'm going to get gum. So you came in to have fun, to come to dance. And then you realized, oh, I want to have better facials today. So now you pick that one thing and you've understood that today your goal is facials. So don't start picking out other things to have this new intention for class, because that's what overwhelms you. So again, ask questions and ask clarifying questions. Ask questions that mean something and something that can get you closer to your goal. Follow the frustration and understand that frustration is data. It's a sign. Time to ask a question. And also don't be too hard on yourself, because frustration can also show up in a different way. And we don't want to follow the frustration over there. We just want to follow it a little bit. Become a detective and figure out what's missing. How come I'm not getting the fuck there? And then figure out how you can get there. Because the more curious you get, the closer you get to finding a breakthrough, which is going to give you the answer to help you move forward. Good luck with this. And I can't wait to hear how your questions improve your dance experience and also your dance abilities. If you liked this episode, it would mean the world to me if you gave it a 5-star written review, and I will see you on the dance floor.